The number one reason, my friends, why people either quit coding or give up learning how to code, it's probably not what you guys think it is. I'm Josh. This is the Project Freedom Podcast, and let's get into it, my friends.
Strap in. You guys are in for a ride.
Don't call me friend, buddy. I'm not your buddy, guy. I'm not your guy, friend.
In the year 2028, one Big Mac will equal $1 million. From the Gospel of John McAfee.
Supreme, ultimate hot dude right here. Fucking hottest dude in the galaxy.
Bro, just learn to code.
Do you know? I know, and he knows the wish for
The Project Freedom Podcast.
All right, guys. So you would assume that people quit coding or give up learning how to code because that it's just too hard, right? And although that might be partially the case, my friends, that's not entirely true. All right. Cody Moose in the Who says, too stupid to quit. New Horizon says, Gen Z. Let me do this in a Gen Z voice. Hold on. You can't tell me what to do for real, for real? Harry Maguire Jr. says, on a serious note, beginners are sometimes overwhelmed with how much there is to learn. But hey, that's why you started DD. Yeah, I mean, partially, right? Like, so obviously I started DD because I wanted to be able to like do things differently. And I don't know why I said obviously, it's not obvious. I wanted to do things differently than how like colleges and boot camps would do it, right? But like the number one thing that was in my mind, or at least the back of my mind when I started DD, was when I graduated college with my degree, like I didn't really know much of anything, to be honest. Like I realized after 6 months in the field that I learned more in those first 6 months working than I did in 5 years of school, which is absurd because especially considering how long 5-year period is and how much it costs, right? And they didn't teach you anything about getting a job too, which is a little concerning if you ask me. It's almost like they don't want you to pay back that debt. XCD Roland says coding on Windows is shit. That's why I quit. You'll get a Mac soon. Yes, wind blows. Hey, you just install Linux on it, some kind of flavor of Linux on your machine, bro. But you're right. Coding on a Mac is not. Sorry, coding on a Windows is not very very optimal. If I'm being honest with you, unless you're doing .NET development, then it is optimal. Ashley says just having the same problem. Just get that Linux installed, bro. XC Roland got discouraged, but I'm back now. Dual boot with Linux. I'm set for learning. Yeah, dude, see? Looks like you already knew. Good job. WSL for Windows. It ain't perfect, but it works. Cody Moose. Only can dedicate 4 cores, though, so I can get slow sometimes. 4 cores. Let's see. New Horizon. Seeing the Web3 video from yesterday made me want to switch my profession. I mean, you're not the only one, bro. If you saw the video, you know. All right, friends. So, like I was saying, you think that, okay, people just quit because it's just too hard. And yeah, that might be partially the case, right? Truth is, guys, coding for some people, it is hard, right? It is hard, much like anything else that's valuable in life. You do have to use your brain. You know, got to use your brain a little bit. Building a house with your 2 bare hands is hard as well, my friends. It's probably even harder than learning how to code. Running your first marathon, making your first $1 million, being a competitive bodybuilder, all these things that people do in life are hard. So right off the bat, we know that there's more than just one thing in life that's hard. That's code, right? But my friends, the ones who care, guys, they do always eventually end up doing what it is that they want to do. They just simply don't give up. And that is what brings me to my first reason why people quit. And to put it simply, guys, people are just quitters. People are just quitters. You guys know the whole Pareto principle, the 80-20 thing. That is why the ability to program, to be a software engineer, not everyone in the world could do it. Because not that they can't do it, but if they could just snap their fingers, there'd be a lot more people that you guys see working just average wagey jobs, working as developers in their home, doing whatever they want to do, smoking weed in front of the computer, I guess, like the people that work at the CIA. But the CIA won't admit that. We'll be doing that instead of working in retail or doing something else, right? Maybe they would choose to just, I don't know, be a professional movie star. I don't know about that, but a certain subset of people would most certainly choose that over the current job. The average person, guys, it's not like them to step out of their comfort zones. It's just not. Okay? Doing things like having to challenge yourself over and over again before you get an end result, that's not for the average person, right? Just like I talked about with the marathon example, just like you would have to challenge yourself day in and day out if you were, a fat slob, a fat mongoloid, and you wanted to run your first marathon, you would most certainly have to be challenging yourself day in and day out to do that, right? So the first reason, guys, is just simply put, because people are just quitters. And that's okay. It's okay if you're a quitter, right? We're an inclusive channel here. Another common reason number 2, I would say, is because people will say that for them, it's just too darn boring. And you know what, guys? That's a pretty acceptable excuse, right? Now, I would say that, yeah, that can definitely be true. But let me explain to you guys why it probably feels boring to you in the beginning if you're maybe one of those people that relate to this. So there's this phase that we call, that every beginner goes through when they're learning how to code. And we call this phase tutorial hell. Okay. Literally, it's called tutorial hell. It's kind of a meme, my friends. And the reason why it's called tutorial hell is because in the beginning, you're really just monotonously repeating code or copying code that you might not just understand completely yet. And truth is, this is a boring thing to do, right? I think anyone could agree with that. But there is light at the end of the tunnel for you if you are one of those people. Because the truth is, as soon as you guys finally break free of this phase, as soon as you allow yourself to go through and go all the way, and you just finally break free from this phase, and you'll know when you do because of what I'm about to explain. But once you break free that, you've kind of unlocked this ability to code for yourself on things that you actually want to code, okay? For yourself. Things that interest you, things that you want to actually do, as opposed to just BS from a guide or an example. And so if you feel like you're one of those people that's in tutorial hell and it's just too damn boring for you, here's something that you guys can do. Something that I've told people, my clients. First, friends, I would say to realize and just accept the fact, because it is a fact, that you're not going to understand everything 100% the first, second, maybe even third time that you go over it, okay? You're going to feel like you have lots of gaps in between the stuff that you're learning. And hey, that's normal. In fact, if you didn't have misunderstandings and gaps in these things that you're learning the first, second, maybe even third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh time that you're learning something or using a tool or going over it, then I would be like, hey, you sir are a cyborg, you're a robot. Although the Zoomers, the Gen Z kids, they move through stuff pretty quicker than anyone I know, right? So, and it's funny because even to this day, even to this very day, guys, I will be like doing something. I will be like implementing some piece of code or designing the architecture for something. And even to this day, things will just like pop up, and I'm like, I probably haven't understood that for like 10 years. And then finally it just kind of makes the connection, right? I'm serious about that, even to this day. Okay. And also, top of that too, as you get older, and you do this for long enough, you forget stuff too, because there's not enough space. There's not enough gigabytes of memory in your brain to store all this data immediately. Okay. So I would say the first thing is to just kind of like accept and allow yourself and understand that you're not going to completely get everything that you're going over immediately. Okay. And you can't let that prevent you from moving forward. If you do, then you're going to be stuck in that tutorial hell, and it's going to continue to be boring for you. Okay. And the other thing I would say is you're going to need to do the painful thing. You're going to need to do the painful repetition, just like you would if you're at the gym, just like if you would if you're trying to train for a marathon, over and over and over again. Repeat what you did. Repeat what you're trying to learn until you get at least 1% understanding on it. Okay. Now, usually people are going to get a lot more than 1% of an understanding of these things. But if you can at least get 1% every time you try to chip away at something, you're making solid progress. All right. So, like, for example, if you don't understand for loops and you're trying to write one in code or try to like, maybe you get to the point where you can copy and paste that part of your code, that part of your project, and it works, but you maybe understand 50% of it, but you still don't understand something about the for loop. Well, watch YouTube videos on it over and over and over again in your spare time. Read on it over and over and over again. Implement it in code over and over and over again until you start to understand it at least 1% more. Actually, speaking of for loops and a couple other like small tutorial stuff, I have some videos in a playlist called like basic computer science tutorials on my channel. So if you guys do need something like that, you can check that out. But practice is perfect, guys. And practice is boring, but practice makes perfect. Right? New Horizons is challenging, not hard, and not the brain. You have to be logical when you code. Too many people are in their fields, so coding equals too hard. Very true, my friends. Harry Maguire Jr. says, follow your passion is the biggest lie anyway. Very fucking true, man. Very fucking true. Very true. And that's a lie that we were told our whole lives, right? New Horizons. Not going to lie. One of my passions is creating. I wanted to create using code. But if not, I may dip into art/drawing below the create. Another good thing about code too, especially with like web development, is you get to have that like balance between left and right brain creativity. And like I find that people who are usually lacking in one area or the other, when they start getting into coding, especially web development, especially front-end web development too, like you get to challenge and grow that other part of your brain that you're not used to. So if you are like a creative artsy person, you get to challenge and utilize the left side of your brain in an artistic manner, and then you can use the right side of your brain in a logical manner where you're not supposed to be doing that, right? Like the right side is supposed to be artistic side and the left side is supposed to be logical. And it's like a good combination of both. That's what I enjoy about coding and what I always have enjoyed. XC Roland says he 100% feels that. And the money, just follow your passions, the money will follow. Just study underwater basket weaving, guys, and the money will follow. Don't worry. Obama is going to pay for your underwater basket weaving degree. Train for extremely work. Thanks. I thought I'll make a mental note, Cody. He's into some arty stuff with code. Use coding to generate designs and patterns. Pretty cool stuff. Yeah, there's actually a lot you can do. And there's like, guys, there's like no code, the no code method. It's kind of a meme, but that's like a thing nowadays. And it's never going to be truly no code. Like you're going to have to know like some basic stuff. Like ask Pablo. He's like Pablo is Guava's like go-to front end guy. And he hardly tinkers with like massive amounts of code like ever, but he's really good at it. and he uses tools like Webflow, he wouldn't be able to do it as easily as he does if he didn't know any code at all. And he does. He knows the basics of web development, so that makes it much easier for him. But like the tools that you have nowadays makes it easier to do stuff like that. Danielle says, practice doesn't make perfect. Practice makes permanent. That is good. I like that one. What is the best way to start? Start with web development, man. That's what I would say. You could always join DD, but don't ask me. Just kidding. Web development will help you out for sure. But if you were to join DD, that's exactly what I would put you on first and foremost. Best way to start is Google how to start, insert topic here. It says New Horizons. And using Google, believe it or not, is probably your number one tool, which another thing that I go over with a lot of my clients. People sometimes don't know how to use Google properly, believe it or not. But hey, what can you do? There's literally a million out there. Yeah. Harry McGuire, I hear people say freelance dev is a waste of time. Would you recommend to just get a remote job? Depends on you, man. So here's how it is with freelance dev. And like, there's a way that you can set it up. Like the way that we have Guava set up, the way Tom Graff has his coding business set up, the way Aurelian has his stuff set up. Like if you're doing like freelance stuff that you're sourcing off Udemy, you're doing it wrong. That is a waste of time. But if you source your clients and your inflow of work on your own, not using some kind of third-party entity that's going to take like 30% off the top of your head, well, then you are wasting time. You are doing it wrong. I heard it's better to already know how to start coding before joining class. John Mez from below my set. Yes, I would say that's true, but that's because 99.9999999% of coding courses and classes, they don't start from literally the bare bottom. They don't. Even if you could take your beginner level computer science class, they're gonna assume that you know a little bit of something about computers or basics and just using a computer. We don't. We start every single one with the assumption that the person knows absolutely nothing. That's why I said 99.99999, because we are the 0.00001% that is an exception to that. It's nice to know what's going on, yeah, for sure, but you can literally learn anything from Google or YouTube. Yeah, you can. So another reason, guys, why people quit is because they just feel like they're just making no progress. And that's a valid concern, right? And maybe you are one of those people. What does making no progress look like? I would say making progress looks like you're stuck on one thing for way too long and you don't understand it. You can't figure things out. You have to ask help for every single little thing. That's a good indicator of if you feel like you're not making progress, or to know that you're not making progress. All right. But what can you do if you're one of those people, and if this is actually the case? First off, I would say the same thing as I said above. Some people just feel like they need to understand everything 100% the first time in order to move forward. So again, to reiterate, allow and accept yourself the ability to not understand everything 100% the first time before you move forward. And you know what? This is actually a good sign, guys. This is a sign that you're thinking like an engineer, because an engineer wants to completely get everything, the ins and outs, top to bottom, before moving on to something next. But you need to allow yourself to not understand it the first time. Because here's the thing, if you can't do that, and you're one of those people that in order for you to go on to something new piece of information, then you're creating a mental blockade in your head to prevent you from learning something new, because you're like, this other thing that, and the truth is, you probably won't even need to completely understand that the thing that you're currently learning 100% to move on to the next thing. Right? So allow yourself to not understand. Double down on what I said before. The second thing, though, my friends, is to hone and sharpen your problem solving and troubleshooting abilities. Okay, this problem solving, troubleshooting skill set, something I meme about all the time. Ask some of the guys in the chat who are in DD, how often do I talk about problem solving and troubleshooting? Because it's like in 2022, nobody can do it. Nobody can do it. The people that changed my tire pressure sensor monitor at the car shop the other day. Dude, I had to do it myself. They couldn't even do that, right? And it's not just that. And I'm not just talking about regular service people who are like, you know, you go to McDonald's drive through and they can't even get like your one single basic order right. Everybody like just has a problem doing things on their own nowadays. Okay. And it's not that hard to do. It's the reason, listen to me. The reason why you're probably having a hard time to do it, it's not because you're stupid. It's not because it's hard to do. It's because you're being a whiny little baby. If I'm being completely honest, you're being a child. Okay. I say that not to insult you. I say that to help you. So hear me out. Most of the time, if you just slow down a little bit, okay, and you read, let's say you have an error in the terminal, and you slow down and you read the error in your terminal, actually read it. Don't just like screenshot it and send it to me or send it in the chat or start Googling. Actually read it. Slow down, actually read it. Then you might be able to have a little bit of a hint after processing the information that it's telling you, okay? And if you don't know what's going on right off the bat after reading it, then take that error, go search into Google and add some context to your Google search query. And I should do a video about how to use Google the correct way because people don't really know how to use Google. But if you do that and then you start applying some fixes that you see, guys, most of the time you'll come to find out that the solution ends up being nowhere near as bad or as complicated as you were just making it out to be. In fact, you probably literally just let the fear of having to like lift yourself up, of having to do some damn work yourself, stop you from getting it done. If you were just cool and in a good positive mindset and you're all like chill and you're like, all right, I'm just going to try to figure this out, start chicken away at it, like 1 hour, 2 hours later, maybe even 20, 30 minutes, you'd figure it out, right? It happens. You just got to be able to go and do it. So I would say don't let the fear of having to lift yourself up and put your hands on the keyboard, as cheesy as it is to say, I'll say it over and over again, hands on the keyboard, stop you from getting it done. Because most likely you can probably do it. You're just probably being a whiny baby and making a bigger deal out of it than you really need to. Okay? Are you the good cop? Are you the good cop and is MLT the bad cop? Maybe. Tell that to HR and ask for a PhD. Who asked for a PhD and 10 years of experience? Good cop Josh. Yes, indeed. Good cop Josh. I would be the good cop, wouldn't I, guys? I am a good cop. You're all under arrest right now. New Horizons says, I'm not in DD, but I'm in IT. 95% of my experience is in IT, no matter what the topic is. 95% TS, then 5% work. LOL. Yep. 95% troubleshooting, 5% work. Yep. And that's why you're employed, my friend, because people can't troubleshoot for whatever reason. Try this. CPU 3 machine checksums error. There you go. That's a good search query right there. Yep, troubleshooting. That is what T/S means. Worked on a server farm years back, found that something on the PCI BUS sent a bad instruction to the CPU. Spent about 40 man hours on that server for that error. That sounds like dealing with serial buses and instructions getting sent to CPU sounds like an actually like a hard thing to do, because I doubt there's a whole lot of information for that on the internet, right? Ace M says, is working 40 hours a week while doing a remote comp sci degree possible? I'm thinking of taking 3 courses per semester. Or comp sci course difficult? Think of transferring from merging tech. Okay, so there's a guy in our group named Nick, and he is working 35 hours a week, and he is taking he's taking 5 different credits. He's taking like 16 hours or something ridiculous like that in computer science. And he comes to our courses and he does our stuff. I mean, he's not with us a whole lot in the last like 2 months because he's been super busy. He's actually been working more than 35 hours. He's working like 2 part-time jobs. I think he's like slightly over 40 now. It's temporary though. It will go back to 35. But I mean, he's doing it, man. The thing is, like, what is your goal? Is it to get income, or do you want that degree? If you want that degree, then just take your time. And I'd say just take your time and do it, man. especially since it looks like you're already in mechanical engineering. I think that's not a bad switch, my friend. I could be biased. I think that's not a bad switch. Normally I would, if I didn't know how old you are, I would not advise going to school. As someone who does have a degree in computer science, I would advise not doing it because most people these days just don't do that anymore. Most of those Zoomers, like the college enrollment's been dropping, period. But since you're already in, to have not wasted your already invested time and money, I think that's a good switch, dude. I mean, you can do it. How many hours are you working right now? Let me know, because it seems like you're already doing school and working something. Are you working 40 hours now? You think you can handle it, man? So the number one reason, guys, why I see people give up is because that they have absolutely no support. Okay? This is serious. College students, even people that are working a job. Because I've had people, we got people in our group who worked as a dev, finally got a dev job, either got fired or quit because they were on like an awful team for their first job, had no support at all, period. So let's just talk about that. Perfect example. So if you're working a job with a pretty good team and nobody wants to help, maybe not pretty good, but pretty large team, nobody wants to help you, you have to make the assumption, guys, that most people that are software engineers, maybe not most people, that might be a little facetious, but people who are software engineers, there's a large chance that they're like a soy dev. Okay, they're not going to be like a semi-socially competent person, like that you might not be able to talk to them like you're talking to me. Okay, so if you ask them for help, they'd be like,
I know everything. This pleb knows nothing. I'm not going to help him. How dare he try to steal my thunder? I can be the only developer on this team. That's right. You better ask me twice.
I've had people like that. I've had people that I worked with like that. And being on a team, especially your first team, where you're not going to have some support by some kind of like senior developer at the very and another thing too, if you start in a job in a company with a big application that you're working on, maybe you're working on multiple applications at like a large company. Even if you're the most hyper super coder ever, and you just think in lines of code, you think in Python. Actually, you think in Haskell, you think in like C++, some kind of like obtuse language, unnecessary for most things. If you don't know where things are in the massive system, or if you don't know the current system, like it's going to take time to learn that stuff. And if you don't have support, forget about it, dude. You're going to be so flustered and frustrated, you're just going to walk out that door. So that doesn't help for why people feel like they have no support. Another thing too is like at colleges, just like I was talking about, at school, at school, your teacher isn't going to invest time in personally making you try to get better. Okay. All they care about is if they have enough grades to be considered not a failure as a teacher by whatever criteria that specific university has. And if they have to curve your grades or to get everyone up, they will. If that's a failure, they don't give a rat's ass. They're not, very few teachers nowadays are going to be personally invested in you and help you come up with a game plan to actually get a job, because that's just not what college is for, my friend. So that is also a reason why people just give up. I've had many people graduate with me with a computer science degree. They fought tooth and nail to finish that degree, and they just never end up coding or even getting a job in the IT field. Which brings me to, I guess, another thing that I think contributes to this is something we call imposter syndrome. Like, it's going to be hard to feel like you know how to do something if you're not getting anyone to help you with it. You're going to feel like a damn imposter. You're just going to feel lost. So, number one reason, my friends, people don't have a support network or even help from somebody small on their team. 32 hours in IT field. Not bad. I feel like MLD hates me, but it really just motivates me to succeed even more. Good. That's probably exactly what he wants. You probably don't know this. MLD probably doesn't hate you. He probably just wants to treat you like he hates you, because he probably knows that you're that type of person that needs to be screamed at to do better. So good. John has tough love. Yeah, he does. He doesn't say things to be a jerk. He's straightforward. He doesn't beat around the bush. Yeah, John's probably the most straightforward people I know. He'll say it like it is. He doesn't care. All right. He doesn't care. Not that he doesn't care about your feelings. He just doesn't care about this like fake social veil that you have to have. Like, I have to be a good person and not be mean to people. He doesn't care. If it's a necessary thing for him to say, he'll say it. Fearless Trader in the house. Sup? What is up, dude? Good to see you. Good to see you. So, guys, what can you do to solve the last one that we spoke on? Having no support work? Find a mentor. Find a community. People who are like-minded and willing to help, where people are not just gonna. And if you're gonna do this, you have to be willing to not just take, but also give your expertise in as well. Obviously, there's my community, developerdirection.com. If you're interested, there's a link in the description below. And if not, like if you're on a team at work, like don't ask too many stupid questions. And there is no stupid question thing, but if you're on a team of soy devs, they're going to think everything's stupid, especially if you like have an error and you try to like just take every single error to them, or every time you get stuck and you get flustered. You don't even try to figure it out yourself. And you just immediately, hey, you DM them, hey, help. And then they're actually doing some like serious work or something. And all they do is read it for 1 second. And they're like, did you even read this? And you realize that you didn't read it. I've been there, guys. I've been there. Right? You realize that you didn't even read it. And if you would have read it, you would have figured it out. Perfect example like that. If you're in school, I know college is like not the thing to do anymore. And I know that there's a lot of people who are kind of strange now in college campuses. But if you are in school, try to like at least wear the mask, not this mask, wear the false mask that you're a good, normal NPC number 7210, just like the rest of them, and just try to like fit in with them while you're there. Get them to help you out with homework, get them to explain things to you if they can. Leverage that. Okay. Find people in an inner circle that can help you. Yes, reading gets you pretty far in life, I would say. Josh told me coding is professional Googling. In a way, my friend, it is. In a way, my friend, it very much is. Speaking of developer direction, I have a webinar tonight in approximately 26 minutes. So I need to go. I need to scram and take care of my clients. If you guys are in the stream, I'll see y'all in a second. As always, friends, learn to code. Learn to change your own tire. Be sovereign. Self-custody your own crypto. Link for a Trezor in the description box below if you want to buy a Trezor and you get $25 of free Bitcoin. I'm out. See ya.